Welcome guys, today we are playing Cash Game on Pokerstars Zoom 100. Something I really like to do from time to time in order to work on my post-flop skills and yeah, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Of course, I'm not a regular Cash Game player, but I try to learn as much as possible, and I will certainly be too loose in some spots because I'm used to ante games, but I try to play a very solid, tight approach, especially on lower stakes. I mean, it's not really low stakes, but I think the jack we have to call once more. Yeah. We could also consider raising, because I think he will be betting all his one pair hands, and then he's gonna get in, be in a very dicey spot. Also, we make him fold hands like king queen or queen nine type of hands, and a bunch of equity, and might bluff us off the river. Ace jack off against an under the gun range is actually quite tight, yeah, quite loose. Let's see how many tables he plays. If he's a recreational player, I would certainly, wow. Player pool is so big. Okay, let's go for a call, not waste so much of my timing. Why don't I see him in the... Oh, it's... He is, okay, he's a regular, so then it should be a forward. I think ace 10 we beat all his weaker ace, ace deuce, ace 4, ace 5, ace 6 that are going to check back, and then probably not going to bluff the river, so I think we can certainly go for a bet. I will have hands like king jack, jack 10 with one's heart, 4-5 suited, 4 deuce, 6-5 suited is close, open raise, bottom of my range. I would probably not open it 100% frequency. And now we can easily let go of this hand. I think on lower stakes it's very important to try to play very solid, rather tighter pre-flop. It will bring you automatically in less trouble spots. This guy's a recreational player, so I'm gonna call, especially against the button range that is probably a little bit looser, and very often they might have an ace or an ace jack, ace 10 off, and they just 3-bet, or suited ace, and their 3-betting ranges in general a little bit tighter, looser, sorry. And river I go for value bet. Of course he can have some ace kings, and king jack suited I'm going to squeeze here. Yeah, the ace 3 suited against the small blind 3-bet is definitely close. I think we sometimes have to defend against the 3x. That's also fairly close. I would certainly fold king 9 off. Yeah, even king 10 off against an MP range might be a fold. I definitely want to bet big here, and also betting in the turn quite large. It's a board where you have to be careful. You can't just go big with every single hand because your opponent has ace-7 off, ace-8 off, 7-8 off. So a bunch more two pairs than you have. However, it's quite coordinated. We still have some stronger hands in our range. I don't want to go too small. I think mixing in some smaller sizings is totally reasonable as well. Queen 10 off is very close as an open. It's also probably a frequency play where you sometimes you open, sometimes you fold. I'm gonna overcall here. Gonna call the 4-bet. I think against certain opponents, when you have some reads, it's totally reasonable to fold. Here I want to polarize my range. I either have a very strong hand or I don't have anything. And on the without any backdoor equity, we just have to fold. Sucks because sometimes he will be bluffing us, but pocket deuces, we're going to peer. It's gonna get nasty. He check min raises us. That's very interesting. He's a recreational player, so here I don't really think worry about balancing. I just want to build the pot and get it in. Here I'm gonna bet the turn for free showdown. I would do it with my flushes. Get some value from hands like ace queen. Yeah, I'm gonna raise the king 8 suited and pocket sixes. We should be calling here. Against a smaller range, I want to bet a little bit on the bigger sizing. Shouldn't have that many jacks or tens. Very bad turn, and he'll just give up. Here I'm going to check raise. I want to protect my equity. It's a loose open, but I think it's fine. And we just check back. Of course, if he re-raises, if he jams, I'm folding. But we get a little bit of value from his overcards with the club, and we protect our hand against all sort of overcards he can have in his range. Ace 10 off, I don't think it's an open from under the gun pre-ante. Might be close though. I think at least, I don't know, 50% of the time you mix in some raises. Might also be 100% frequency open raise. I'm not 100% sure about that. King 6 suited. Definitely very close. These suited kings are actually performing much better. This guy, if he's a reg, I would really like to see myself raising. I think we block ace 9. He shouldn't have that many ace 5 combos. Ace queen should be betting. Yeah, it's the question whether a recreational player is capable of folding in ace, which I think is not often happening, and I would rather prefer playing for value here. King 9 suited. Wow, he makes it quite small, less than 3x. I'm gonna call. Like when someone 3-bets smaller than 3x, you should of course increase your calling range. Going to check raise on this flop. He's going to see better with a very high frequency. And here we just try to check it down. Easy fold here. And we barrel any 6, any deuce, any club. The good thing also, we're going to keep barreling this hand when the flush draw bigs, is that we make him fold all better nut flush draws. So yeah, if I would be, let's say I would transit into cash games, I would probably start working on my preflop fundamentals. So I would take a look at what hands should I be defending with, what hands should I be 3-betting with, what hands should I be open raising with, and really try to work on my fundamentals before I then start, and then also of course try to solidify those ranges. It's probably a fold preflop, but he is mid-stacked, so he might be a recreational player. Let me see. I might be wrong. He's one-tabling, so yeah, it's very likely. And against these players, we should of course increase our... he's short. Okay, that's a stupid limp. That was a mistake. We got a big runner straight, so I'm not worried. 10-9 suited. I think it's a good hand to squeeze here, and since we are very, very deep, I would actually prefer squeezing stronger flush draws. So with this deepness, you want to be rather... Here can be already drawing that, so I'm just folding. So you can get in a lot of problems with dominated flush draws. So the deeper you are, the more you want to be re-raising and bluffing strong nutted hands, like nut flush draws, or hands that can of course also make good pairs, like king queen suited, king jack suited, queen jack suited, suited aces. All these sort of hands should be in your squeezing range, or strong pairs, hands like pocket eights. I don't mind mixing in those hands as a squeeze, because a lot of players think they should be defending extremely wide since they are so deep with you. But I think it's also a common misunderstanding. That's a very bad turn. We're just gonna check forward. I think now, okay, especially if he snap bets. And also what I see very, very often is that here in these positions, people play a little too loose, especially also even in post-ante games. I don't think this is a hand we want to be defending with here. I think we should go with like ace-5 suited and ace-9 suited. These kind of hands are a little bit more reasonable. This guy is a wreck, so I'm just folding. Gonna go for a little bigger flop sizing here. I think he can have a bunch of pairs that are calling anyway, and might get some very loose calls from ace highs. And we have an easy call here. I think his play is okay. It's I mean, exploitatively, since he's one-tabling and he's mid-stacking, not playing a full stack, I assume that he is doing some mistakes. So usually I would bluff with 1/3 and I would bet big with my value hands. That's how I play in these spots pretty much every single time, because I think I accomplish exactly the same with my smaller sizings. When I bluff, let's say I have queen jack, and then I go with another 40 or 50% bluff c-bet on the turn against his ace highs, But if I have a good, let's say if I have aces, kings, I also bet a little smaller. But I call that a triple barrel bluff hand. Since we dominate, we can make him fold a ton of diamond hands on the river. Yeah, I'm going to check now. I'm not sure if we should block bet. He snap checks. He might going for a small block bet. Might be very greedy, but I think a 10x might bet for free showdown on the turn. Not sure if I want to check. He's a recreational, so I'm just going to value bet here. Wow. I got lucky on the turn, he got lucky on the river, so as you can see in poker, it's always an up and down. I mean, it could have easily went the other way. Ace 5 off, I think we shouldn't be opening. So yeah, I'm not unhappy that we are, this should be a fold. Pocket aces. Even if I see, let's say, I know this guy's a recreational and is sitting in the big blind, I would probably be raising a little bit bigger. We're in position, so I go ahead and call. If I would be out of position, I would be cold 4-betting. Suited, I lean more towards 4-betting. Off-suited, we should play it a little more cautiously. It's a very easy concept in poker. The stronger, I'm gonna check it back, would be bluffing ace and clubs and some ace queen combos. If we take all ace kings with ace and clubs, king and clubs, or ace queen combos, we would be heavily over bluffing. It's tricky, but I think we can call, we can raise. Our range, I mean, I would also check back some queens. Let's say if I have ace jack suited. I'm gonna start with the bet here. I think here we can also start betting the turn. A bunch of vector equity. Usually I should be raising 4x. I think 5x do it too big. That was a misclick. Very bad river. What we can do is we can go for a check raise. But I think we have a bit of showdown value. Of course, they can all have their spade hands, and he insta bets. He check backs the turn, now bets the river. If he's a recreational player, I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm not making anything stupid here. Here I'm going to overbet the river. I would do it with queens. I would do it with some nut flush draws that I didn't bet. So it's just because he should be betting that many king X, and I think he's going to check back very often. And yeah, and he has all the flushes in his range that are probably going to bet anyway. And here, just forward. Okay, this guy is a recreational as well. Then I'm not going to barrel through. I think on average you just get too many hero calls from ace-x because recreations are not so range aware as a regular. A regular knows he has a bunch of ace-x, and when he comes to the with ace-9, he's also folding those hands, but the recreational usually is not. Queen Jack is definitely very, very close defend. I think it might even be a fold against this 3x, so I'm just not gonna. So when I'm not sure if it's a pre-flop defend, the thing is that I end up being in a game through with a hand that I'm not supposed to be in, and then I'm of course also being a little bit more careful about over bluffing or bluffing post flop. I have all the queen jacks, jack tens with backdoor flush on this board. Now if I start betting queen jack offs, I'm a little bit over bluffing, as you guys might or can imagine. Easy call here. Going to continue with hands like king or ace 5, ace 4 suited with backdoor flush draw. And now we bet turn and river, pretty standard stuff. I guess the 3x I'm gonna peel. And I think now we have enough showdown value. It's a close call. I'm gonna overbet the river. And here we can value bet. Check back flop, call turn, bet river, I think is a line also blocking his returned ace 10, king 10, 10 9 club combos he might be bluffing with. So I'm going to fold. Check shoving would be reasonable, but not with the 10 9 clubs. Gonna open the sevens. Definitely going to bet this flop. We have a bunch of hands he might be folding right away that will pick up equity on the turn and might be bluffing us, like queen jack hearts or something like this. Get a little bit of value from hands like 10 deuce suited. Interesting spot. I'm going to forward, of course. We're so deep. Okay, I'm gonna fold here. Ooh. That's a very, very nasty board for a 4-bet pot. And I'm going to check back. Going to 3-bet a7 suited here against cutoff open. Now I'm going for a bigger bet. That really sucks. That really sucks. I mean, I don't really know him. We don't have any blockers. We can have even hands like ourselves bluffing ace jack, or we can easily 4-bet ace jack combos here. We can have backdoor flushes, 4-betting an ace 4 in clubs, or an ace 8 in clubs. So I would consider catching with aces with ace in clubs, but here, I mean, it would be a great play if he shows a hand like ace king with ace in clubs. I think he should be shoving quite frequently the river with ace king ace in clubs, and even if he does shove with the ace king ace of clubs, I don't think I can call, because he has himself has like ace king clubs, king jack clubs, You want to second barrel the turn. Definitely great board for attacking his ace queen, ace king, king queens, king nines that might be in his checking range, and we can fire on many rivers. Going to 3-bet this hand. King 9 suited against a small bet 3-betting range. I'm just going to fold. Oh, that's really weird. This guy is super short. I mean, if this guy folds, I'm calling, but now I'm just out of the pot. He has 10-5 suited. Don't like his overcall here, by the way. I think it shouldn't be. Here I'm going to bet big. I'm going to second barrel the turn because he has a bunch of draws that might not get the right price unless he has pair plus draw. Yeah, I think pair plus gut shot we have to call once. If I would have a club in my hand, if I have something like Jack 9 with Jack and clubs, I don't mind bluffing. But I think we have to give it up. Just too many flushes and full houses in his range. Definitely going to call here. And probably also calling the turn. I think that his range is very polarized. I mean, he's 3-betting. His only value hands are aces, ace king. We're blocking those, and he can have all sort of 6, 7, 8, 7, 4, 3 suited type of hands. He's 3-betting with queen, jack, jack 9, and yeah, I'm definitely calling once again. It might look a little bit spewy, but and he also has all the ace jack combos. Yeah, we have a very disguised hand. I'm going to value bet here my ace. Yeah, I was just thinking it's only ace jack, ace 10 I'm afraid of, but he has all the ace deuce, ace 4, ace 5. I mean, checking is probably also very reasonable. Going to keep betting the turn here. Call and 3-bet is fine. Can mix it up. This guy seems to be mid-stacked, so I assume it's likely. He's two-tabling, so I don't know what he's up to. Going to c-bet small, and here I'm going to 3-bet, and here it's probably fold, but this is so weird. Check call, don't turn. I mean, we even block his floats, queen 10, 10, 9, hearts. You don't want to have these hands in your range. I think he has a lot of ace high, king high floats. 7x might be raising a decent amount of the time. I'm going to bet, make him fold ace high, king highs, flush draws. Don't even need to bet that big. Wow. He doesn't like to fold ace highs. Interesting that he just calls pre-flop. I think mixing in an ace-5 suited here as a bluff 4-bet is fine. Definitely not 100% of the time. Usually I would be 4-betting hands like ace-9 suited, or it's ace-10 suited. Some suited broadways, king-queen suited, king-jack suited, ace-queen off would be hands I would always be bluff 4-betting with. And then, yeah, the occasional ace-5 suited. I'm going to check call the river. And I'm going to raise the flop. Jack-9 suited is fairly close, but there are two recreational players in the blinds. And we're going to check back. I'm going to bet small on the turn. On paired board, when there's a flush draw, people usually, if against a small bet and he just snap calls, they know that you can be very certain that you have the best hand, and you can go with a ridiculous big sizing because you represent so little. I'm a bit afraid why he bets so big. Against a small sizing, I would have raised the flop, but flop and turn very easy check calls, and we also call the turn. And yet again, we're not having the best runouts today with our aces. I'm just afraid a little bit of an 8 actually. Or a flush. Okay, I was not expecting that. That was very passive, my friend. Min raises, check, check. He has a bunch of 10-9, queen 10, king queens. We're not blocking any of those. So I'm gonna call the river. And even those floats. Not sure if we want to raise here. I think I'm gonna go for a raise. Looks pretty weak. What did the guy have here actually with the aces? King Jack. Did he consider? I don't think it's a call. Here I'm just going to fold. Very easy. Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst turn, and now a lot of people think, well, it's a bad turn, he's never folding, but it also makes it less likely that he has an ace. So, and he still has all the flush draws, so it's going to be a hand I triple barrel, not blocking diamonds. And now I'm just giving up. Let's say I have something like 10-9 with a 10 and diamonds, I would be bluffing the river because he still has all the queen 10s, and yeah. Easy call here with the 6s, regardless of him being so short. Easy forward against the 3x, open from under the gun. This is actually a spot where you very often want to mix between raising and limping. And we have an easy call against this ISO raise. And I'm going to check raise this flop for sure. I'm going to see bet this this flop here, because it brings us some opportunities. Any 10, any jack, hearts, where we can triple barrel. I mean, this is one of the worst cards. And here we have the most easy spot to just call. And just call down. We hope he doesn't have aces. It's, I think, a really bad card because this is a really bad card actually. I would definitely have some backdoor clubs, king, queen, queen, jack clubs, 8, 9 clubs. Yeah, I was thinking, I think he calls all his pairs he calls all his pairs on the flop. Sorry, on the river, on the turn. Like 10s, 8s, 7s, there are no draws present. Even 4s, 5s might be peeling ones. So yeah. It's also a little bit here of recording value, where I think that people sometimes just try to be heroes too often in these spots. So when they already come to the river with premium hands, let's say aces or kings or ace king, they more often make a hero call against me. So in some of these spots I bluff a little bit less. I think if he has a 7 or 3, he's never folding anyway. King 10 is certainly close. Pre-flop against the 2.5x. I would never call King 9. We can do two sizings. We either go for quite large to wrap in a flush, but I would do it with a club, or we go small against his under pairs that where we're betting. I like both. I think you can mix it up. Yep, nice call. Oh, the queen would have been dirty for him. I mean, I think he might even been calling if we size it up a little bit. Oh, I was about to say, people are so 4-bet heavy today. It's crazy. I'm going to 3-bet the ace 10 off. I think it's a healthy mix between 3-betting and calling. And here I would be bluffing if I have a hand like king queen in with a king and a heart, king and spades. Also a mix of 3-betting and calling, but I don't recognize any recreational player behind. Then I prefer a 3-bet more often. River, I'm going for a large bet. Probably overbetting, wrapping a jack or nothing. And here I'm going to... Yeah, I don't really want to raise forward. His sizing is quite big. I'm afraid if I raise, he might jam over the top. And I would definitely want to try to realize my equity. If he bets again, I'm just folding. I have horrible reverse implied odds against his flush draws. Let's see if I find him. Going to check call the Jack 9 suited. Would be bluffing my queen highs. I think ace 3 is also reasonable. I mean, keep in mind, guys, we have a bunch of value hands we can be value betting with pretty much any jack. He represents a ton of 8x, 7x, random ace highs, deuces to 5s. And I'm going value bet the river here. King 9 suited on this board brings me a lot of hands on the river turn that will make it very easy for me to continue. Any jack, any 10, I can just second barrel. Plays also fine as a call. And he's a recreational. And this time if we face a 4-bet, we're definitely going to call. And here we also have an easy call. I think it's a board where people raise c-bet the entire range. We have a bunch of 7x hands, and I definitely want to protect my hand here quite a lot, so I'm going for a flop raise, just trying to make him fold his ace highs. Even if he's now very sticky, I mean, then I'm even very raising against those hands. And I have a bunch of 7x. I could be binking the turn. I could be be ahead against his floats. So it's whatever. His range consists of all these queen jack, jack 10, ace queen, ace jack. If he has all these hands in his range, we should be doing some raising with these hands and try to protect our hand and also get some value. So with a certain frequency, I would be mixing in some raises with 5s and 6s, more often just calling queens, jacks, 10s because they need less protection. And river, we have an easy jam. Hands I would be bluffing with would be some 8-9s, 10-9s, flush draws. Don't mind raising a hand like ace-8s diamonds or ace-5 diamonds. I'm going to peel the 5s here. This board without any backdoors. I'm just going to check for it. And we bluff the river. He has all the ace-10s, ace-8s. Yeah, we can just keep bluffing this hand. Pretty standard. You shouldn't be shying away, especially when you have weaker draws. Keep in mind, your opponent can have a bunch of better draws, which he can't call. So you always bluff with those with those really weak bluffs. Yeah, river, we have an easy call here. He has also the flush draws. I think queen-9 suited might even be a little bit too loose as a 3-bet. Would probably not be 3-betting every single time. More often a fold. But yeah, if it's bad, then it's probably just slightly losing. Easy fold here. Yeah, this guy seems a recreational, so I'm gonna make a loose overcall here. And this is very important. Usually you want to approach cash games pre-ante as very tight, and you want to spot those players that are quite weak, and you want to try to get involved more often against these players and then loosen up your ranges.